Alright class, so this lesson is going to be about how we can solve and graph inequalities. So just a quick review of what inequality symbols look like and what they mean. So we have four different types of inequalities. We have greater, which we read it as greater than. And here's an example, okay? And then we have, we have the example right here. We have less than. Here's an example. Greater than or equal to, greater than or equal to, that's how you say it. Here's an example of that. And then less than or equal to. And here's an example. So these are the types of inequality problems we're going to have in Algebra 2. Alright, when solving inequalities, we want to have x, or whatever variable we use, on its own, meaning on one side. And that specific side, we want it on the left side of the inequality sign, something like this. Okay, we want to have the x by itself and the number on the other side. X by itself or y by itself, whatever variable, and the number, and you have your inequality in the middle. When we have this, we say this is solved. Okay? How do we solve this inequality? Well, solving inequality is just like solving equations, and we're going to go through some examples of solving equations as well. We do most of the same things, but there's there's just a couple of things we have to be careful of. We must pay attention to the direction of the inequality. Okay, so then sometimes we have to change the sign. So when we have to change the signs, we have the less than becomes greater than, or the greater than becomes less than or equal to becomes greater than or equal to, and greater than or equal to becomes less than or equal to. Okay, so this is when I ask you to change the signs, this is what I mean. Okay, and then finally, the two rules to remember when we're dealing with inequality is when we're multiplying or dividing both sides by a negative number, we have to change the sign. We have to change the sign. Okay, so for example here, if I were to solve this problem, this is the same thing as, let me see if you recognize this problem. So if we had negative 3x equals 15, you know, here we just simply have to divide both sides by negative 3. And then you'll end up with x equals negative 5. Okay, so when we're dealing with the inequality symbols, it's the same thing. So over here, we're going to divide both sides by negative 3. And then x is, we have to change the sign because we're dividing by a negative number. 15 divided by 3 is negative 5. And then another time when you have to change the sign is when you're swapping left and right hand sides. And then here also we have to change the sign. Okay. Remember in the beginning we said that we want to have the variable on the left and the number on the right. So here we have the number on the left and the variable on the side. To be able to write it properly, we have to write the x over here and we just swap the sides. Okay, so whenever we're changing when we're swapping the x and y, swapping the direction, we have to change the sign as well. Okay, I think we're ready to go through some examples. Alright, so we have here some adding, subtracting, multiplying, dividing problems. I'm just going to go through these four right here. Actually, no. Let me go through these four. Number 2, 6, 3, and 7. Okay, I'm going to go through these four and then I'll show you some other examples on the next page. Alright, so here we want to get this x by itself, so we need to add 4 on both sides of my inequality. So you have x is greater than 4 plus 5, 5 plus 4 is 9. Now we have to graph this. So in order to graph this, we go to the number, which is 9. Sorry, I messed up here. So this is, if I were to extend this is 6, 7, 8, 9. Okay, and if we were to graph it, we have to go to the number 9. We put an open circle because it's not equal to, it's just greater than, and we shade to the right. Sorry guys, this is not at all a good example. Let me go to this next example here. You know what? I'm sorry. Let me just do this one. This was a good example. Number 1, we're gonna subtract 3 on both sides. So you have x is less than 7 minus 3 is 4. And then we go to the number 4. We put an open circle, and then we're going to shade on the left side because x is everything that is less than x is part of my solution. Here, since it's 3 times x, we have to multiply both sides by 3. So 3 times 3 is 9x is less than, oh gosh, I did this completely wrong. Sorry. 3x, so if we divide, but we have to divide both sides by 3. So you have x is less than 15 divided by 3 is 5. Sorry about that, guys. Alright, so we go to my 5. We're going to put an open circle, and then we're going to shade on the left. Over here, number 6, here, to get rid of the negative 4, I'm dividing both sides by a negative 4, and then just remember that dividing by a negative we have to change the sign. So you have here x is greater than negative 5. I'm going to go to x at negative 5, 20 divided by negative 5. We're going to put an open circle, and x is greater, so we're going to shade on the right side. Okay, finally these 2 examples. We're going to subtract 3, 4 minus 3 is 1, is less than x. I'm not really satisfied with the way this is written, so I'm going to write the x on the left side, and then if I do that I have to change the sign, and then x is greater than 1. So we're going to go to 1, circle, greater is to the right. This example, x divided by 2, so we have to multiply both sides by 2 because it's being divided. That cancels those out, so you have x is less than 3 times 2 is 6. So we gotta go to 6. X is less than, so we just put a circle at 6, and then go from there. I might as well just finish these 2 examples. So we're gonna add 3, 7 plus 3 is 10, greater than y. I don't like how this is written, so I'm going to say y is less than 10. These 2 are the same exact statements. Since y is less than 10, 10 is somewhere over here. We're going to put an open circle, and then we're going to shade it to the left. Okay? Alright, this one. We're dividing by negative 3, so we're going to multiply by negative 3 on both sides. Negative 3 and negative 3 gets crossed out, so you have x. Just remember we're multiplying by negative. So we have to change the sign. So we have to change this to less than negative 1 times negative 3, that's positive 3. So we're going to go to 3, put an open circle, and then we're going to shade to the left. Alright, so I have a review here on solving equations. Again, this is a review. This is from Algebra 1. I'm not gonna go through each one of these just for time purpose, but I will just say, just right here, what are the 3 things we have to be careful for when we're dividing or when we're solving equations. The first thing is we want to look to see if we need to distribute. Okay, so you do that if you see parentheses, you know you're going to be distributing. The next thing is you're going to look to see if you need to combine like terms. Okay. And finally, we need to isolate the variable, which is to get, which means to get variable by itself. Okay. Please come see me if you need help solving equations, but these pretty much should help you solve each one of these. Okay. All right. So now I do want to get to these inequality problems. I'm just going to go through a few of them and see what my solutions look like. So the first one we have, I want to see if I have any distributing, nothing to distribute, combining like terms. Yes, I do. So 8k minus 3k, that is 5k, is greater than negative 5. And then we're going to divide both sides by 5. K is, I don't flip the sign because I'm not dividing by negative. This is negative 1. And then we're just going to go to negative 1. We're going to put a little open circle, and then we're going to shade to the right. Here, no distributing, but combining like terms. X is 4 plus 8 is 12. It's less than 6. And then we got to get rid of the 12. Subtract 12, subtract 12. X is less than or equal to negative 6. Go to negative 6. Put it here. We need to put a closed circle. And then we shade to the left. Okay. And then, let's see. Let me do number 7. We're going to check to see if there's anything distributing. No parentheses. So no distributing. Combining like terms, yes I do. I have 4 and negative 4. So 4 minus 4 is 0. Okay? And then I'm gonna 0. And then I'm gonna bring everything else down. So I have minus 4p is less than 16. Now remember that whenever you have 0, you really don't have to write it when you're solving. So I'm just gonna erase it. So I have 16 is less than negative 4. I'm going to divide both sides by negative 4 to get the p, the variable by itself. Divide by negative 4. 16 divided by negative 4 is just negative 4. But remember that this is where I flip the sign, change the sign. So we need to change it to greater than, and you have p. And then I don't want the p on the right side, I want it on the left side, so I'm going to change this again to p, but then change the sign again. It's negative 4. So my answer is p is less than negative 4. Gonna go to negative 4, put an open circle, and then we're going to shade to the left. And then I'm going to do one, I think, is that it? Oh, that's it. Alright, let me know if you have any questions.